And we are back.
We are back, bumblebees.
We're doing some bonus content because we are scheduled all the way out into April, and today is the 23rd or 22nd of February, 23rd of February. So we are going to start just recording episodes to throw at you guys at random.
How exciting.
Right? Because we're that far ahead in content.
Right.
Which is super nice for us because it means we don't have to work if we don't want to, which means we clearly want to read some emails today.
Yes.
For those of you who are new here, we are not licensed therapists. We're not counselors. We're not shrinks. We're not anything other than two people on the internet with opinions. And we are going to give those opinions because you guys, the viewers, have asked for it.
And I'm Peaches.
And I'm Chris. I forgot that. It's weird. Like at this point, they know who we are.
Right. Do you think so, though?
I do. Because and if they don't, like, you do. Because if you haven't watched thus far and you're just now finding out about us, you don't give a shit about those other 200 episodes that we've recorded. And if you do, you'll go back and watch. So if you don't, you don't.
I think it's still formal to
You're right.
introduce ourselves.
You're right. I've forgotten. I'm just making excuses.
I understand. You just want to jump into it? Is there anything you want to talk about?
Nope, we're not doing that anymore, remember?
No?
Nope, we'll be doing stuff like that on Life account.
Oh, that's changed. That made my lower back feel weird.
Yeah. So today we're going to be reading an email about in-laws. So this is an in-law episode.
Okay. Do you think if I were to get a massage, like focused on my lower back, that would release something and I'd cry?
I don't know.
Like, why did my back just feel a certain way because life is changing?
I have no idea.
I should look into that. This is titled Abusive Mother-in-Law. First and foremost, I can't tell you how grateful I am that I found you guys. I hadn't been following for very long, and I already absorbed so much information and tried putting things into practice. I want to drive home that everything that you ingest on the internet should be taken with a grain of sand.
That phrase is actually grain of salt. I had to look it up after I said grain of sand the other day.
I know, but I'm sticking with grain of sand because I feel like grain of sand is smaller than a grain of salt.
Okay.
Or I just have jumbo salt in the kitchen.
Okay.
Because everybody's life is different. Everybody's personal experience is different. So definitely tailor it to fit.
Yep. Take what works and dispose of what does not.
Yes. Back into the email. I'm embarrassed to even be typing this message because I try my hardest to keep issues in my home.
That's smart.
But I'm at a crossroads now and have no idea how to move forward. All right, so this could be equated to a desperate...
Cry for help.
Yeah. Last resort type thing. Okay.
Last ditch effort. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, that was it. My partner and I have been together for a couple of years now. We are planning on marrying here in the next year. Yes, one of those non-government involved kinds.
Dig that.
I'm here for it. We have similar beliefs as far as religion, politics, roles in the house, etc. Our home runs like a well-oiled machine, except my partner's unhealthy, borderline abusive relationship with his mother seems to keep rearing its ugly head. Okay, let me take a deep breath. This is something that really pets my peeves. It's a pet peeve. Grinds my gears.
Pet your peeve.
Yeah. Yep. I imagine Peeves as an orange tabby cat sitting on my lap. I'm like, don't touch my cat. Just stop. But they just keep doing it.
Yep. It's going to be a day for Peaches, apparently, guys.
And that... makes me angry. It makes me angry. And I need to dial in that anger because I'm a role model. I'm a role model.
She texted me earlier and was like, I can't find the blogging camera and I'm baked. I don't know where it is. And it was literally sitting on my desk. So this is the Peaches that we have today, guys.
My exact words were, I'm baked and lost. Like naked and afraid. And I said, is it in plain sight?
Yeah, both of them were right on my desk, just sitting there.
So the answer was yes. He literally went. And I was like, well, what am I looking at? If I had seen it the first time, I wouldn't have asked.
One of them was still connected to the Joby pod with the mic attached to it.
Well,
this fucking big.
That's your vlogging camera. I didn't know that we were.
It doesn't matter. Yours was sitting right next to it, though. Yeah. right, let's get back into the email.
Okay, back into the email. Oh, that deep breath was nice. I needed that. I'm centered. Back into the email. Assumptions, maybe because I wasn't there for the entirety of his upbringing, but from what I have observed, his mother has bred a relationship between the two of them that revolves around the premise that he will always need her. Ooh, okay. From ostracizing him from his family, including his father, to belittling any solid male figure he has had or even friend or positive relationship.
Can we talk about how fucking toxic that is?
It really is.
Like, you are damaging people and manipulating your son to have unhealthy relationships with every single person they come in contact with for the rest of their life. That is what failed parenting looks like. That is lifelong damage that is going to have to be undone by other people who did not cause that damage.
Right. It's also setting the precedence of all men are shit. You're not because you're my son, and that makes you special because I'm your mom. But all of the other men in the world are shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think, oh, we got a thing on Twitch. We have a new follower on Twitch. How exciting. Guys, if you didn't know, we now stream on Twitch. Our Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time lives and our Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time lives are now both going live on Twitch simultaneously with our YouTube.
Yep. Pretty soon we'll be able to stream our poker games on YouTube, on Twitch as well. I'm gonna work all that out soon.
We get goofy.
I'm not gonna run the audio.
No,
I'll put lo-fi or like blues or something in the background of it and just the video.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm gonna let the mods run the chat and we'll just play poker.
Okay. Is it gonna be like head down view?
Probably do 2 cameras.
Okay. Hell yeah. We have either a generation or just now a continuation of both young boys and girls being raised to hate men.
Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of self-loathing going on anyways.
Right,
But
I was just about to say.
Men have become the enemy.
Yeah.
And the ones who have the most value are the ones who realize that they're the prize in all of this. Because they don't tolerate stupid shit and they don't sell themselves short. It's the same thing with women who actually have self-worth. Like, that's the real prize.
Yeah. Back into the email.
Yep.
Any conversation I have ever had alone with her has been about how terrible my partner is, how selfish, embarrassing, or narcissistic he is, always backed by, well, my therapist thinks so too. I'm so sorry. She's shit-talking her own son?
Mm-hmm. So knowing what we know about true narcissistic personality disorder, this already has the opening traits of that from that woman.
Mm-hmm. In my mind, one of the top, not the number one, I would say one of the top most damaging things to a child is a narcissistic parent, especially if you're like the favorite child.
Why?
No, not the favorite child. The favorite child gets showered with everything and they follow in the footsteps. The one that sees through the bullshit and calls it out, because then you're the scapegoat.
You're definitely hated.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if he has siblings.
I don't know. The issue's not with the siblings, it's with the mom.
Right. But there's a dynamic in all of that. Like, if a narcissistic mother has more than one child, there is a favoritism that happens and it's clear. And if he believes that he's the favorite child, he would go above and beyond to meet her emotional needs. Because in return, they have the good relationship.
Yeah.
It's a very messy, messy thing. If you guys want to know more about that, I highly recommend deep diving the narcissistic parental relationship with children. There are a ton of videos on YouTube. It's very fascinating. It's devastating. I can honestly say she is a miserable, sad person who is jealous of his successful life or me taking her place. I will hold fast in the fact that I have always been respectful to her. I have never been rude, nothing but cordial. Do I feel the need to have a relationship with her? No. She has shown me on countless occasions that she has no respect for me. From harboring a mother-daughter relationship to my partner's ex-girlfriend, and of course comparing myself to her, to finding any and everything she can to play a victim card and put my partner and myself against each other.
Okay, so then it sounds like it's more than narcissism. It sounds like she has an inappropriate relationship with her son and she's trying to make sure that he remains hers. That's what it sounds like.
Right. You could say that could bleed into like almost that emotional incestuous relationship where mothers replace the boyfriend or husband with the son.
Yep.
Emotionally.
Yeah. There's a lot of manipulation happening here.
Yeah.
I wonder if he sees that. Because if he sees that, it's real fucking easy to just sever ties with the mom.
Clearly, he doesn't see it then.
Yeah.
My partner knows his relationship with her is unhealthy, but conversations about the topic are met with defensiveness and anger, finding the need to protect his mother no matter how wrong she may be in any situation.
That's trauma.
Yeah.
That is trauma. So he is aware that it's not healthy, and he has not realized that he has the control to make it stop.
Mm-hmm.
And doing what he's doing, that is a trauma response. Being, well, that's my mom. What do you want me to do? You know, he's a mama's boy, but there's a lot of bullshit and wrapped in all that.
It's also a really weird dynamic because as the mother, she's supposed to be of authority.
Right.
She's supposed to have that leadership role. She should be in the mindset of not doing anything that would harm her child.
She probably doesn't view it as harming him, though.
Right.
I'm willing to bet that if she thinks the girlfriend's the problem, that getting her out of his life is the mom's way of viewing her trying to like
mend it,
protect her son. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not a healthy situation.
This is really one of those choose those hard situations, because if you end the relationship with the mother, it's going to blow up. There is going to be a fallout of this.
How? Because I've been in this situation.
So say, now this is a hypothetical, he is in contact with other family members. He's going to hear, unless he's able to set that boundary of, I don't want to hear what she says about me, he's going to hear all of it.
Yeah.
All of the shit that she's talking, all of the lies that she's saying. And he's now going to be in a bad light because of it, or it's going to amplify the bad light on the woman. And now they're going to jump on the train of, okay, we have to get him out of this situation. He's cutting off family members.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely people out there who believe that family means everything and not just blood relations.
Right.
You know, because I've been in his shoes, like actually experienced this. Cutting off my family was the best thing I ever did for my mental health.
I agree.
I have zero fucking drama in my life for my family members. I only talk to one of them, you know, one or two of them, but they don't fill me in on shit.
Right.
The only time I ever know anything is if I'm like, hey, how's so-and-so's health?
Yeah.
You know, so-and-so's still alive. I don't want to know details about their life. I don't care. And it's not that I don't care because I don't love my family members. They will always be my relatives.
It's just because it's always negative.
But they're not my family.
Yeah.
Your family does shit because they love you. And they don't do things that are going to, you know, intentionally hurt you because they love you. And when people view things like destroying relationships and talking shit about them to their partners, like that's hurtful. It's not helpful.
It's devastating.
Yeah. And I'm willing to bet he doesn't confront his mother on the shit that's being said. Or if she was like, hey, just so you know, when we were at your mom pulled me aside and said, you're a piece of shit loser and that I should leave you.
He probably believes it.
What, that he's a piece of shit loser?
Yeah.
Maybe. But I'm willing to bet she didn't tell him that shit. And if she did, it probably created a problem between him and her instead of him and the mom.
Yeah.
Because of the manipulation and the trauma from the mom. That's a very it's almost like a commingled personality. You become so codependent on each other. Like that's the ugliness of codependency.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I scrolled back up. The emailer said that she doesn't know much of his upbringing. I would gently ask about that. It would bring
you're
him
married. Why don't you know about his upbringing?
Right. There should be a deeper understanding there, because if in the childhood there was aggressive outlashes of any sort because the child was not behaving in the way that the parent wanted, in adulthood that trauma response is still there. Logically, if he doesn't live with mom can literally do nothing to alter his life besides show up on the windows, knock, try to come into the door, blow up his phone, block, I will call the cops if you show up here again.
Yeah, I don't think it would go that far.
Right.
I also think that's how you become a people pleaser as a child.
Oh, 100%.
I'm willing to bet that in the event that he writes his mother off, she will make herself the victim, blame him for everything, and never speak to him again.
Unfortunately, that is typically how it goes.
I don't think that's an unfortunate situation. You're going to be the villain in people's stories.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
The mother, though, is supposed to have a special bond with the child.
Supposed to.
The reality of majority of the time it's not. And that breaks my heart.
Yeah. You're always going to be the villain in somebody's story, and there's nothing you can do about that. And ultimately, unless you're the villain in your story, you should be working to have a good life. And if people are bringing a bunch of bullshit around you, just fucking remove them from your existence. I don't know. I'm not letting people disrupt my peace in any way, shape, or form. Like when I'm not even arguing with people anymore. Like you disagree, that's cool. Disagree, I don't give a shit.
There's an emotional tie there. That's what makes it hard.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
because you feel like you owe them something. But that's my mom. Like, she raised me. She did these things, but you don't realize but that's my mom mindset in those moments where you're experiencing a relived trauma.
Right.
And you are, repetitive behavioral traits because of childhood trauma. It's very hard to realize that, like, hey, you're in control right now. All you have to do is stop it. It's going to suck for a couple of days and you're going to want to reach out and like make amends because you're going to feel guilty. But you feeling guilty comes from all of that childhood learned behavior.
Right.
It's manipulative. It's trauma.
When people think of that's my mom, to overlook all of the abuse and all of the trauma, in that mindset, also think of what could they have done differently?
Yep.
Right? Because there are a lot of different ways to handle things and a lot of different outcomes. And there are a lot of very logical what ifs that have been done over and over and over again.
If you are not willing to treat your children the way that your parents treated you, that's your window of opportunity there. Go, wait a minute, this is not okay.
Correct.
I would never do this to my kid, and you're doing it to me, and I'm your child.
Yes.
Because you know what that feels like. You remember what that felt like to be a kid. That's why everybody wants to be better parents than what their parents were. So if your parents are treating you differently than you would treat your own children, that's a fucking huge wake-up call for you.
Correct. Back into the email. Not to mention the fact that the only time we ever argue is either A, when he is actively having a conversation with her via text, or B, he is at her house, is planning on going to her house, or has been at her house that day, which he'll hide from me until the end of the day because we have our usual "how was your day" conversations.
Which means the mom is also poisoning him to you the way that she was poisoning you to him the way that she was poisoning him to you. And it's creating a negativity bias. And he knows he's going to get in trouble for going over there because he knows how you feel about it.
Yeah.
So now there's already tension before the conversation even starts because he feels like he has to defend himself or defend his mom, which is, again, a trauma response.
Because you guys are arguing solidifies the things his mother was whispering to him. Even though you're trying to stand your ground in a healthy way and say, hey, look, this is what's going on. Somebody in active trauma, because this is a repetitive cycle. When you are removed from trauma, you heal from it. It hurts to remember it. It has certainly affected who you've become as a human being. You're out of the cycle, though, and you're able to think more logically and in a more healthy light.
Right.
This man is in active trauma. No matter how hard you stand your ground and try to defend what you think should happen in order to have a healthy dynamic within not just his and his mother's relationship within your guys' future marriage, his mother is and will come first until he's able to see things for what they are.
And she'll continue to be a trigger for him.
100%.
That's not going to change.
Yep. That going to her house and not saying anything until the end of the day in my mind is lying by omission.
It is. Well, see, I think that's actually worse. There's a difference between just not telling somebody something, another than lying, and then something totally different when you're deceiving someone.
Right.
Right. So like if you have a set routine and you just make a pit stop real quick and go and leave, like you're there for 5 minutes, that's an omission. Like, hey, I swung by my mom's house real quick. If you are like, I'm going to go have a couple of drinks with the boys, or I'm going to go shoot pool, and then you go to your mom's, that's deception. That's worse than lying to me, because even though it is still just a lie, you went and told a whole bunch of stories to be able to do something I guess that you can't say he shouldn't be doing because he's going to visit his mom and that's a decision he has to make.
Right.
But I view that worse as lying than just going.
You're right, because it is deception.
Right. Yeah.
I went to Hobby Lobby the other night while you were... Oh, it was last night.
It was last night.
Yeah, you were making purchases and I finished my house cleaning. I was doing nothing. I was like, you know what? I know how to knit. I want to crochet. So I went, yarn was on sale. And before I left, I was like, hey, babe, just so you know, I'm not home heading to buy some yarn. That's not a control thing. It's a respect thing.
Right.
It is also a, just so you know, I'm not home. So if you get a call from a police officer, I'm probably in a car accident.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference between omission, right? Because you're just not telling me what you're doing. And that's fine. Some people don't need that. I want to know what you're doing, just like I tell you what I'm doing, because it's a respect thing. I view that as omission, and I don't view that as a bad thing. I think that there's a respect that comes in from that. But I think, like I said, just deception and lying are two different things. And if he's not telling you what's going on and he's just omitting it to avoid a fight, I view that more as deception than omission, because you know you're not supposed to be doing that because you guys have already talked about it.
So let me ask you this then, because we have had conversations about lying by omission. And I believe the context was the guy said he wasn't talking to that coworker anymore, whatever. And then come to find out he was still going on lunch dates with her.
Well,
but they were going in a group setting, even though he agreed to go no contact with the coworker.
Yeah, that's not omission. That's deception.
Okay.
I don't think that is omission. I think that's deception.
Okay. So would you say your view on that has changed a little bit?
No, it's not the same thing.
Okay. I guess my understanding of it of your understanding of it was different.
Well, saying that you're not going to text that person anymore and then you're still going to lunch dates and you're saying that it's with other people, you're deceiving. That's a lie. That's not omission. Omission would be...
No, like there are there's 3 or 4 other people there.
Yeah.
So they are going in a group, but so let me clarify. The relationship, now this is hypothetical because I'm making it up. The relationship is woman finds out that her husband is having inappropriate conversations with a coworker. They don't work on the same floor. There's really no real reason for them to have conversations. So he agreed to go no contact with this woman. And then the wife comes to find out that he is going on group outings for lunch and she's there. And he's having interactions with her and they're talking and chit-chatting.
Okay.
So would you say that's deception?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's omission because you're using the group setting as a reason to go and hang out with that person. That situation also speaks into a different scenario though, because if somebody's at work and they're like, hey, we're going to go get lunch and you have to go, who's going? And somebody goes, me, Bob, Linda, and Sherry. And you're like, oh, well, never mind. I'm going to just stay here. And every time Linda goes, you're like, no, I'm going to stay here. Then there's work gossip.
Okay.
So in that scenario, knowing that you're going to have problems in your marriage, if you're going to lunch with Linda, Bob, and Sherry, you just start bringing your lunch. That way, nobody needs to know what's going on. Your boundaries in your marriage are set. You're keeping the problems from your marriage private.
Right.
You don't have to tell Linda that your wife doesn't like her. You don't have to tell Bob and Sherry that you are making inappropriate passes at Linda and now things are fucking weird.
Okay.
You should be taking steps to live a normal fucking life and keeping your problems close to home.
Okay.
So that's a different situation. I still think it's deception because he's using the lunch outings to still do those things.
Right.
I could see that as omission too, maybe, but I view that as deception.
Okay. So now I'm just asking for clarification for the viewers. What would you say the difference between omission and just simply forgetting is?
One is intentional and one is not.
Okay.
Those are two very different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in case somebody asked, because say somebody listens to this, goes to have a conversation with somebody and they go, look, I feel like you're lying by omission to me. And they're going, no, I'm just forgetting. And they argue their forgetting point. That person might ingest that and be like, okay, well, I guess there really isn't a difference in that.
Yeah,
right?
There's a big fucking difference in that. If you have a conversation with your person and they're like, hey, so-and-so makes me uncomfortable, I would rather you not associate with them. And you go, sure, I won't associate with them. You need to hold true to your word.
Correct.
Not fucking do it behind their back. It's not a matter of forgetting. You remembered that fucking conversation, but you felt like you weren't going to get caught or didn't see a reason to not do that because you want what you want and fuck everyone else.
Right.
Or you feel like they're being unreasonable, so you're going to do it anyways. But if you were in their shoes, maybe you would not feel the same way. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think that was good conversation.
Yeah, I think that all of that's a very slippery slope. And no matter how you define it, it's wrong. But I personally view certain things at a higher level.
I agree.
The more effort that goes into something, the worse it is for me. Like if it's just hey, don't talk to Linda anymore. And she's like, hey, good morning. I like your shoes. And you're like, oh, thanks. I like your blouse. You could have just stopped at, okay, thanks. Right? Like that is not really that big of a fucking deal. You're just returning a compliment. But your person having an issue with you and Linda having a relationship and you saying you're not going to do that at that point, that would be the omission to me.
I agree.
Because it's simple, right? You're just being polite. It's not really that big of a fucking deal. But knowing that conversation was already had is where that becomes a thing, right?
Okay.
Knowing that you're not supposed to have interactions with Linda because it makes your spouse feel a certain way. And now you're planning on, hey, Linda, would you like to go to lunch with me, Bob, and Sherry? Now you are intentionally being deceptive by going, well, Bob and Sherry was there so that you have a reason to hang out with Linda without getting in trouble. That's deception to me.
Right.
Because you're doing a lot more to get the same outcome. It's fucking nasty to me. Like that's...
Yeah. And it's actually really surprising. It's not. How many people will get on board with somebody cheating if they pull the sympathy card of, I've been miserable in my marriage, I can't leave because she'll take the kids.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to be involved in that shit. They'll look the other way.
Yeah.
Yet you are the only person who can hold yourself to your word. You cannot rely on other people to do that. Back into the email. Usually over irrelevant things that have nothing to do with anything other than me being controlling or needy, but never can be backed with examples of how I'm portraying what I'm being accused of. So that's what their arguments are about.
Her being controlling and needy.
Correct.
But without examples of it.
Yes.
Which means he doesn't like the way that she's talking to him and doesn't want her to be involved with him and his mom.
Yeah.
He views that like the conflict that comes from him talking to his mom as her trying to control him.
Like there's an overstep into his relationship.
That's exactly what that is. That's exactly, and I promise you that's what it is. Because again, I've lived this.
Yeah.
So.
On one occasion, he cut her off, and while it was short-lived, all I did was support him. It was the best that we'd ever gotten along. When that ended, and they started communicating again, I was met with comments like, you loved that I cut her off. It was the happiest I've ever seen you. And once again, the cycle started and arguments ensued.
So was he not as happy as you were? It sounds to me like mom is trying to play the two of you against him. And you're by proxy taking part in it. She is. Because every time they create an argument over the mom, she's doing the exact same thing the mom is.
Right.
The only difference is his mom raised him, is the cause of his trauma. They're trauma bonded, and he's closer to mom than he is to you.
Right. So he gets the emotional remedy
Right.
to the trauma from his mom.
Well, he's a victim to the
Right.
mom.
He is.
And he's not to the woman.
Right. In that trauma cycle, though, the mom has the antidote
Yeah.
because she creates the trauma. Then once everything settles down, she's able to offer that motherly love because of that connection. If I were this person, I would say, look, I'm not having any more conversations about your mother. You can decide whether or not you want to be with me. I don't want to hear what she says about me. You can hear what she says and formulate your own opinions. My actions will speak for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the simplest answer in all of this is for her to just stop. Don't do
Yeah.
family gatherings. Don't go around the mom. Don't talk about the mom. If he goes over there, be like, okay, cool. I'll see you when you get home. Don't ask how it was over there. Like ask how his day was. And if he starts talking about the mom, be like, hey, I told you I don't want to hear about that. Like we can
Right.
talk about anything else, but that your relationship with your mom is your relationship. And I need you to keep that separate from our relationship.
If he wants to vent about it, if he wants to verbally process it, that, I'm not going to lie, that helps me a lot if a redacted memory, that's the only way I could think to say it, comes forward and I'm processing trauma, after the panic has settled, I can come to you and I can verbally process that trauma with you. And you either validating my emotions or maybe I'm overreacting about it, it helps.
Yeah.
The validation of the experience helps a lot. You don't try to problem solve my trauma though. You don't try to fix, even if it is like an active trauma in a relationship, you don't try to fix the relationship because you know you can't.
Right.
You take a step back and you just listen. If that's something that he needs, and I know it's hard because you want to fix things for the people you love, take a step back and just listen. People are really, really great problem solvers when they're able to start sectioning off the colors of the puzzle.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to her not wanting to be a part of that, though.
Yeah.
Because she's being treated horribly from this. And when the mom and the son are close and in their vicious cycle of fucking trauma and healing and trauma and healing, she's treating the kid like a yo-yo. Sounds almost like borderline, too.
Right.
The woman is the one who's getting the shit kicked in her face over and over again. So every single time mom creates drama, if he goes to his woman to try to talk about it, she's not being removed from the situation. She's being forced to hear about what's going on. And now she's even more helpless because from her standpoint and her boundaries, she doesn't want to be involved in that.
Okay. So he needs to respect that. He needs to go to a therapist.
Yep.
He needs to find a male best friend who can maybe mentor him. A pastor, if he's religious.
Yeah.
There needs to be some sort of guidance in this because, like you said, this is a very, very toxic, just cyclone. Poor Toto just Being whipped around in there.
Yep. Don't envy this dude. I still miss my mom.
Me too.
Like there are days that I want to reach out. She lives less than 5 miles from us. It would take me 5 minutes to get to her house. But I haven't spoken to her in 13 years, and I'm not going to break radio silence because every time I think, maybe she's changed. It's been 13 years, 14 years now. Maybe she's a different person. Something will happen and my mom will get brought up and be like, nope, nope, she's not changed. I'm so fucking glad I haven't reached back out because I know the amount of drama and bullshit that's going to come back into my life from it. It's not worth it to me. It's like choosing to go back to your abuser.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand that people who have been in super abusive situations, they do go back. Like you think that the person's going to change or that
there's a hope.
There's hope, right? I get that, but you have to understand that when somebody's not good for you, they're not good for you. It doesn't matter if they're your mom or your dad or your fucking grandfather or whatever. Like if they're not good for you, they're not good for you.
It doesn't mean you love them less.
Right. You can love them from a distance. From a distance.
Back into the email. I'm so at a loss and have exhausted every logical tactic I can think of to handle this situation. Communication with my partner is hard. While we've worked through a lot of what needed to change in order to have good conversation. I have never told him how I truly felt about his relationship with her, or even her for that matter, because this topic is just off limits for him. The situation has left me wondering if I truly want to deal with this for the rest of my life.
Pause.
Okay.
That is a very valid question.
I would also be wondering that.
Right. Because if he is that attached to his mom, he's not going to give this up easily. And I would not marry him until it's done. And until there's been a set, like a lengthy time frame. Because when you marry somebody who is that attached to their abuser, you're marrying their abuser too. They're not going to just give them up because they're married. I'm willing to bet if you were to be like, it's me or your mom, he'd be like, bye.
Correct.
Yeah.
The most important decision you will ever make in your life is the person that you choose to marry.
Right.
It's the only family you pick. People always say you don't choose your family. You do. You have one choice, and it is the person that you marry. Choose very carefully, because if you guys decide to have children and this cycle doesn't break, they will become part of they're going to be little flies in this web.
Yeah. Well, grandma will abuse the children the same way that she abused him. 100%.
He also won't know how to healthily form relationships with them because he doesn't have a healthy relationship with a parent.
Correct. Especially if they're young still.
Right. I just don't know how to go about the situation anymore. Am I the problem? No.
From the way you've worded things, no.
Yes.
It does not appear that you're the problem.
How can I behave moving forward to fix this issue? Thank you for your time.
You really only have a few options. You either leave him, which is the extreme of this, stop interacting with him entirely about his mother. Do not talk about her at all. And if he starts to talk about her, be like, hey, I'm setting a boundary. We tend to fight over your mom all the fucking time. So moving forward, I don't want to hear about your mom. I don't want to hear about the problems that you guys are having. I will be here for you in every other aspect of our lives. But this is a no-fly zone for me.
Right.
And when he starts to bring it up, be like, hey, we talked about this. Or
danger zone.
Yeah. Or he's going to have to write his mom off.
Yeah, I concur.
And I'm willing to bet he's not willing to do that because he's trauma bonded. So therapy would be a good point. Maybe if you guys could get a mediator to explain
trauma bonding and how that works.
Right. And to show the abuse of how she's manipulated all of this.
Yeah.
But even then he's going to feel attacked in those moments. It's very hard for somebody who's living in that. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. He's a very exposed raw nerve.
Yep.
Just all of him is.
All right. There's a follow-up. That's the second part of this that just came through this morning.
This one is titled Hairpin Trigger.
Which falls right into that exposed nerve.
It does.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris and Peaches. I have emailed before about my monster-in-law, but since my previous email, things have taken a turn and need more guidance than I thought. So I apologize in advance for the novel I'm about to bestow upon you. I love that word, bestow. That just, I thought of this earlier while you were gone. Babe, I vow to make you one of the best croissants you have ever tasted in your life. As your wife, I have taken this on as my wifely duty.
Okay.
I need to give you that experience.
Okay.
I'm going to record it, guys. The whole journey of it. It's exciting. My boyfriend, 32 male, and I, 28 female, have been together for 2 years. We bought a house together in June of last year. Okay, so roughly at about 1.5 years, they bought a house together. I wonder how long they've known each other. This is the same emailer?
It is. There's a lot more detail in the second email, but there's overlap, Jenny said.
We both share similar life goals, hobbies, traditional relationship values, as well as political and religious views. On paper, I would call that a perfect match. Oh man, everything on paper looks good. Honeymoon phase is officially over, and I see that. While there have been glimpses of rough waters throughout 95% of the time, it has been amazing and full of maturing and personal growth for the both of us. But the skeletons are starting to come out of the closet and harder to contain. So now here we are, facing talk of marriage and children, which we are on the same page with, so that part doesn't concern me.
It should.
Are we on the same page though? Like, let's stop this car. We're on the same page of wanting to be married and having kids. What environment do we want to raise these children in?
Right. Knowing what we know about his mother,
right?
This would be one of those situations where you guys are going to have a shit ton of arguments about the kids going over there. Mm-hmm. She's going to want to be around them grandbabies
constantly,
and you are going to have a whole lot of fucking problems because of it.
I bet she's going to want a lot of alone time with the kids too. Let me babysit them overnight. Let me have them on the weekends.
Yep, and so that she can poison the kids against you guys, because it would happen against both of you. Mm-hmm. So that she can trauma bond herself to those grandbabies.
Yeah. But there are a few true fundamental issues I personally need to be addressed before I feel safe moving forward. Our relationship started while my boyfriend was sober and I was not. Shortly after he got back into drinking, which then turned into drug abuse.
See how none of this was mentioned in the previous email? This is why I said, from everything you've told us, it sounds like the mom is the problem.
Right.
Now we're getting more of the story. I didn't read these, by the way.
Holy shit.
She sent this email today, and it sounded like a follow-up email, so I sent it to Jenny and was like, hey, can you do something with this?
Guys, you really, really have to break down your situations. Even if you don't send the email to us, type an email out.
Yeah.
Act like you're going to send something to us and be truthful, because context is everything. And if you want true solutions, true resolve in a relationship, you have to face the truth of everything, and it might make you look ugly.
Yep.
And that's okay, because everybody is ugly at some point.
Right. You're always gonna be, like I said earlier, you're gonna be the villain in somebody's story no matter what.
Yeah.
And what it comes down to is you're not responsible for anyone other than you. So you need to work on you, which is why we always go hard on the people who are sending the emails and not so much on everything else that's going on, because you can't control anyone and you can't fix anyone. You can control and fix you. I'm not responsible for your feelings or your actions. I'm responsible for my feelings and my actions.
Yes. I like it. It makes me feel sassy. Back into the email. Now, usually I'd be totally down, but let me tell you, my boyfriend turns into the most sicken.
Why would she be totally down? Did she just skip something? Did you miss a line?
No. Shortly after he got back into drinking, so shortly after, he got back into drinking, which turned into drug abuse. Now, usually I'd be totally down. I'm assuming with the drug abuse.
Or usage, maybe, to like use with him. Okay. That could mean a whole lot of things.
Yeah, I feel like we should have clarified that.
I think it means that she'd be willing to use the drugs with him, or that she's totally okay with him being a drug addict, which, why?
Right.
Why?
Right. But let me tell you, my boyfriend turns into most sickeningly, abusively abusive human when he drinks, all of which is directed at me.
So now you're becoming trauma bonded to him through his alcohol.
Who I would run. I would not try to fix any of this. He has some demons he needs to work on.
She's justifying the behavior already. It only happens when he drinks.
Right.
He becomes a disgusting human being when he drinks.
Right.
I love him all the other time he's perfect. Right? So that's where that starts. That's how that's where that starts, right? Like, well, it only happens when he drinks. And he's perfect otherwise, and I love him to death, but he only drinks once a week. And then it becomes 3 times a week, and now he's drunk all the fucking time, and you have this idea of who he was before he became a drunk or a drug addict.
Right.
And you remember that, and you're hoping that returns. It's not going to return until the behavior stops or until they work through their trauma.
It won't even return then. You're going to get a different edition of him.
Yeah, it will be a different person.
Nothing ever goes back to what it was before.
It can't. You can't rewind.
No. I can't remember if this is like bits and pieces I'm recalling from a poem, or if it was from like a motivational speech. But a woman it's related to domestic violence. It started with, he told me I wasn't pretty. And then he told me it was my fault. And then he started yelling at me. And then he started throwing things. And then he hit a wall. And then he hit me. We don't fuck around and find out in these situations.
Yeah, no, we don't. It's how people get killed.
We don't. Back into the email. So one morning, I told him we were getting sober again together this time, and I haven't looked back since. I'm now nearing 500 days completely straight edge sober. That's fantastic. What an achievement. But he has, meaning that he has looked back. There seems to be a conversation about bringing alcohol back into our lives daily. When I oppose or express that I don't want to or have it in my home, I am then controlling and am not allowing him to do what he wants with his body, as if I'm taking away his manhood. But the plot thickens.
How is that controlling?
It's not. It is a standard of life.
It's a boundary.
It is.
That you're controlling me is a manipulative behavior that he's trying to get you to cave. Mm-hmm. He's trying to guilt you and judge you, make you feel horrible.
Shame you.
So that you cave and let him have what he wants. Mm-hmm. You don't have to fucking stay with people who don't respect your boundaries. It's not control. Hey, I'm sober. I can't be with an addict.
Correct.
You're a fucking addict still. So you have a choice to make. You can either choose to be an addict or you can choose to be with me.
Or better yet, I'm going to make a choice and I'm removing myself until you can figure out what you want.
Right. It's not control. Mm-mm. It's you setting a standard for how you want your fucking life to be.
Correct.
And if anybody ever tells you that you're controlling because of that, they are literally trying to shame and guilt you into giving them what they want. Do not fall for that shit. Own your fucking life. Let them crash and burn while you fucking soar and like work through your shit. I hate that. I fucking hate that.
And it's going to hurt. It is going to be absolutely devastating to watch the person you love go down in a plane crash.
You don't have to watch. You unfollow them on everything and stop talking to them.
They're going to think about it. I think about it.
Yeah. Thinking about and then going back and researching are two very different things.
That's what I meant. So I guess reminiscing on it or wondering about how they're doing in life, knowing how they're doing, because at some point you're going to get curious or somebody's going to relate to you. It's going to hurt. It's going to devastate you because everybody has potential to be absolutely amazing in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't reach that potential. And it does suck to be aware of it. Back into the email. But the plot thickens. Serious or intimate conversations are an absolute no-fly zone. I feel as though I can never express my feelings about anything and feel as though I can never express... Oh, I'm reading the same sentence. I feel as though I can never express my feelings about anything and I am constantly walking on eggshells. Whether it be the weather outside or, God forbid, something he has done. And it only gets worse when he's tired, which is every day since he is at the gym, a town over by 4 a.m. every morning. In addition, simple conversations can quickly turn into blind rage of him verbally accosting me and storming off on the flipping of a switch because my tone of voice rubbed him wrong or something along those lines.
Did you hear the validation as to why he does what he does with the gym thing?
I did. He's tired because he's up every morning. He's driving. He's going next town over.
She's excusing his behavior. Mm-hmm. I understand why he does this. It's because he goes to the gym at 4 a.m.
Not an excuse.
It's not acceptable behavior. You're allowing these things to happen. This is where we always say that you have choices. Like everything that you in your life is a choice. Mm-hmm. So knowing that he is a tired, abusive person and then going, well, it's because he goes to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning the next town over. You're
justifying your abuser the same way he is justifying his.
Right. So there's your choice. Stop allowing it to happen. Be like, look, you're going to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're always tired. That's why you're tired. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to let you treat me like this.
Right.
Don't let it get to the point where he's physically putting his hands on you because you see the fucking signs ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is not a brag. This is a set standard that you should have. My husband's tired all the time. He does a lot. He doesn't get a lot of sleep. He's up sometimes until 2:00 in the morning and then turns around and wakes up at 5:00 in the morning.
That's true.
And he still is the gentle giant to me. Checks on how I'm doing, make sure that I'm okay. He fills me on what's going on with him. If he happens to snap or he's on autopilot and I ask him a question and he gets defensive, he will always come back and go, babe, I shouldn't have done that. I was in a moment, wrong place, wrong time, and I'm sorry.
Yep.
There is never an excuse to be abusive.
So in the event that because I am always tired, never fucking ends.
Right.
If I snapped at you and never came back and apologized and you were just, he's just tired. And then all of a sudden I become a major dick in life, right? And every time we have a conversation, I'm just mean to you. And I'm mean to you because you've now told me that it's okay for me to be mean to you because you're going to accept it.
Right.
So now I've got a whole lot more free range than I did before I realized that I needed to apologize for my behavior. Now, when we have an argument, it'll go from us going, wait a minute, we need to, we don't talk to each other like that. We need to breathe, to shut the fuck up, bitch. Don't talk to me that way. Right. And then we're screaming at each other. Then things start getting broken and thrown. And then we're slamming doors and leaving the house and fucking, blowing each other's phones up, and things are getting real fucking abusive because there was never a standard set of we don't fucking do that to each other. It's not hard to go, this is where the escalator of abuse starts. You're at the top of that motherfucker right now. Well, he's just tired. So now you've stepped on the escalator. You get to ride down the fucking escalator of abuse because you're excusing the way he treats you because he's tired.
Yeah, and if you guys are on the same page about children, you're going to have children attached to you going down this escalator with you.
Yeah. Who's also going to be abused.
Do not allow the abuse of your children be the thing that wakes you up to the fact that something's wrong.
Right, because those children are going to get fucked up way worse than you are. Why are you crying?
Because that's a memory for me. Not from this relationship, but in a past life.
You guys have to check your people. You have to check on your people. You know what I mean? If something's going on and he's not treating you the same as he was 6 months ago and he's sober, why? What's changed? Where's the animosity in all of this? Why do you treat me like you hate me? Am I convenient for you? Do you like me sometimes? Do you just not want to hurt me? What is really going on here? You need to have a conversation of what the underlying issue is. And if he's not willing to talk to you, you need to fucking leave.
Yeah. You need to leave.
Do not condone any type of abuse from anyone. I truly believe that simply having screaming matches between you and your person is abusive.
I agree. Back into the email. Mm-hmm. He can find an argument in anything, which usually ends badly when you have two very hard-headed people. He just wants me to shut up and leave him alone, and I will badger until it escalates.
So you're also to blame in this.
So you're part of the cycle. It already sounds like they're trauma bonded.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more going on there. There's a whole lot that she's not telling us because she didn't mention that while she was mentioning all this abuse.
Right.
Right? So if you guys are arguing and he wants to be left alone and you're badgering him.
Leave the man alone.
Right. This is a you problem at this point because you know that this man is going to get super aggressive and you're poking the fucking bear. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that the man should fucking beat the shit out of you for poking the bear, but he should fucking remove himself from the situation. Mm-hmm. If you were doing that to me, I would leave.
Yeah.
Hey, you're really instigating shit right now and I'm trying really hard not to lose my shit. I'll see you in a couple hours.
I would leave too. If I was, because I have been that person, explosive, screaming, yelling, breaking shit. If I feel myself getting to that point, I would also have that conversation. Look, babe, you are pushing buttons and I can feel the Hulk. I need to walk away for a minute.
Yep. There's a lot more to this that she's not telling us. I think that she's got a big fucking hand in all this.
Yeah.
Just by that statement.
My boyfriend is a tattoo artist, so every day I ask him, what do you have today? Though I have explained that it means, what piece of art are you creating? Why don't you just say what you mean?
Yep. Are you working on any cool designs?
Right. Got any cool shit for me to look at? Say what you mean. So that right there already tells me that there is a massive disconnect in communication between the two of you because you don't say what you mean.
Right. She expects him to just remember or understand.
Right.
Yeah. There's also an opportunity for a connection that's being missed there because artists are passionate about what they're doing.
They really are.
And if they're drawing and creating and designing shit Like, you can have conversations about it. You can interject yourself into their hobby or their job in the situation and have like real conversations, not superficial ones.
Right. I'm constantly be accused of being insecure of it, possibly being a female client.
Which is something that's been either a thing for him in the past or something that you've done.
Right.
And I'm willing to bet it's probably something that you've done to make him feel that way, because every tattoo artist that I've ever met has had that crazy girlfriend that doesn't want them working on other women or doing rib tattoos or underboob tattoos because they're insecure. But they don't normally take that to the next relationship because it's our job. It's fucking normal to us. It's not something that we worry about unless there's a big trauma there. But
Right.
for the most part, I've watched tattoo artists just go from woman to woman to woman and never have that thing until it becomes a thing. So I'm willing to bet somewhere along the line there's been a conversation there that made him view you as a jealous person or insecure.
Okay. When will you be home to him means he better rush home as soon as possible because I'm needy. To me, it means when should I start dinner? So say that.
Right.
When I message you, I text my husband and say, babe, when will you be home? I need to know what time to start dinner.
That's it. That's all it takes.
That's it.
What would you like for dinner and when will you be here so it'll be ready when you get home? That's a super fucking easy statement.
Our son's school is calling.
Yeah, you had a conference with them today.
Oh, I do. He can find an argument in anything, which usually ends very badly when you have two very hard-headed people. He just wants me to shut up and leave him alone, and I will badger until it escalates. Oh, wait, you read that. The tattoo thing, accused. When will you be home turns into, okay. Say what you mean is what we ended on. I see my faults 100%. I know I should elaborate or be more specific.
But you don't.
Right.
So simply seeing your faults doesn't mean shit if you're not actively making change to make that stop. I know I shouldn't do that, but I'm going to do it anyways.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't fucking matter if you're not actually implementing it. Knowledge is not power.
The use of the knowledge.
Right. Is power.
Back into the email. Or not be so talkative when he's tired. But where does that end? Is that even fair to me? I have to pussyfoot around his short fuse, but he doesn't give two shits about how he comes across to me.
Well, you don't give two shits about how you come across to him either.
Right.
Because it's not fair to you to not be able to talk to him. There are times where it's okay to leave your person alone. I'm not responsible for your triggers, but I'm responsible for my actions. And if I know something's going to trigger you, why the fuck am I going to intentionally trigger you? I'm going to try to work around your triggers until you work through that shit and it's no longer a trigger for you. Do unto others, right? Like, you don't want to not be able to talk to him, but if only time you're talking to him, it's a fucking problem. Of course he doesn't want to hear you.
Right.
If he's in a bad mood and you're coming to him and you're badgering him, of course you're not going to have good conversations. At the same time, if he's a fucking dick to you every time you try to talk to him, that's a different conversation as well.
It is okay to not want somebody to talk to you when they're tired.
Yeah.
Every single morning I have to ask my husband, how awake are you?
Right.
Are you at the capacity to have a conversation, to problem solve with me right now? It's either a yes or it's a no. Give me 30 minutes.
Right. Because my brain's not functioning yet.
Right.
Sometimes the question is how capable are you of dealing with something right now? I'm going to be honest. Sometimes it's a 3. Sometimes it's a 12. Let's run this shit.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with checking in with your person before you have those conversations to make sure that the mental capacity is there. I will also say that as a tattoo artist who's been in the industry since 1997, tattooing for 8 hours a day, if your person actually books himself for the entire day, by the time he gets home, he's mentally fried.
Oh, yeah.
There is not a physical exhaustion that comes from tattooing, but the mental exhaustion on hyperfixating on something for 8 hours sucks.
There's also a joke that tattoo artists are therapists.
We are, because we hear everyone else's bullshit all day long. He's coming home irritable because he got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and went and did his self-care to make it through the fucking day, and now he's coming home to you badgering him, as she put it.
Yeah.
She said that. Those were your words, not mine.
Yes. I will badger until it escalates.
Right.
Yes.
Hey, I know you're tired, but get fucked.
I like that tinkling sound.
That's how I view that.
I view that the same.
I was going to kick the table over, but they can't see that there's actually a table here, so it wouldn't have had the same effect.
If you had broken my hat, I'd been upset.
I'd have bought you another one. You'd have gotten over it.
But that hat means a lot to me.
Then it shouldn't be out here.
Pardon me?
Yeah. This is my whiskey room. Why is your hat in here anyways?
Excusez-moi. Oh, do you really want to deep dive that?
Sure.
Because Captain Obvious.
Because I work for video.
Because you wore it to our video to be Captain Obvious.
Captain Stupid. It was Captain Stupid. Yep. Forgot about that.
Exactly. I could tell when you said, why is it even back here?
Yeah. Where was it before then?
In the bedroom where I had it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make sure I put it back then.
Oh, thank you. Guys, I just had the same adrenaline rush as me having like quad twos on the board at poker. I am trying so hard not to be one-sided here so I can get a true, honest response with tools I can put into place to create a healthier environment. Because this is worth fighting for, and I in no way am trying to abandon ship.
Then why are you badgering him? Why are you two not communicating? Why are you allowing him to be abusive to you? Right? Like earlier when we were reading this and all the abusive shit that was happening, I couldn't understand why somebody was staying in that situation. And now as we've gotten further through the email, I realize that she's instigating the shit. If he is getting up at 4 a.m. and he is tattooing all day and he is coming home tired and exhausted, he's fucking tired and exhausted.
Right.
Why not be compassionate and understanding? I'm assuming she said traditional values earlier, right? So I'm assuming she's a stay-at-home. So she's lacking social interaction and his social battery's fucking dead as shit because he's been dealing with people's problems all day long.
You need a social circle.
Yeah, you need to find other friends that you can hang out with and like socialize with and get that out of your system so that when you come home, you're both fucking battery drained and you can be on the same energy level he is while he decompresses and you guys have normal evenings.
Oh, recharging together is one of my favorite things to do with you.
Yeah. I do think there's more to this. I think that you're just as much of the problem as he is. And I think that you got a whole lot of fucking internalization that you need to realize is happening. And then you guys need to get on the same page. If everything is a conflict between the two of you, you're a part of that.
Oh, she works full time.
Oh, well, either way, conflict, well, that negates what I said about the social batteries, but conflict is a two-way street.
It is.
You can't have one without the other. So
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they have the same job or the same stresses.
Right.
Full-time job doing what? Stocking shelves?
Oh, I don't know. It goes into it.
Not talking to anyone? Delivering mail?
I wouldn't be upset about delivering mail. I think the long hours would get to me.
Right.
And like the holiday hours would probably really piss me off and return to sender and all of that kind of shit. But
right. Bet you if she did hair for a living, she'd understand that exhaustion that he feels when he gets home.
being in a hair salon makes me exhausted as a client.
Yeah.
Why do I know Susan's husband's an alcoholic? Like, what is happening here? Back into the email.
Mm-hmm.
But I actively every day try my absolute hardest to be the best partner I could possibly be.
Do you do that while you're badgering him? Because that doesn't sound like being the best partner you can be. It sounds like you are trying to elevate yourself, not recognizing your shortcomings in this so that he's the problem and you can be the victim in all of it.
That is a very sturdy thread to follow. I've been listening to your podcast every day religiously for months and put something I hear in practice daily, even down to the checklist, which he mocked and couldn't take seriously.
The checklist or the check-ins?
Checklist.
We have a checklist? Does that mean like the, hey...
I think they meant the check-ins.
Okay.
I don't know. This person's not very direct with the meaning of things sometimes.
Right. Well, and that's what I was asking, because the checklist could be like, hey, these are going to be our boundaries. We're going to make a list of things or chores, right? That could be a list, but the check-ins and the checklist aren't the same thing. And
yeah.
So
if I came to you and said, babe, I would love to do check-ins with you and really just talk about our feelings, and you mocked me for that, or you mocked the idea because you thought it was stupid, that would really hurt me internally.
I can tell you that as a man, if you came to me with some shit like that and wanted to talk about your feelings, I would view that as stupid or funny or a waste of time. I would not mock it though. I would internalize that shit because men don't want to talk about our feelings.
But we do check-ins.
I know that because we are not talking about our feelings.
Right.
So, right, this is super important to the email because of the way that you just worded that. Our check-ins are not that.
I do talk about my feelings in check-ins.
Right, but that's not what our check-ins are. Our check-ins are a way for us to see how each other is doing, not ours, is not our. To see how each other is doing. How am I doing as your husband? How is your mental health, right? Those are questions that are super fucking prevalent. But if you're like, babe, I want to sit down and talk about our emotions, I don't want to do that.
That's what's happening though.
I know. It's the delivery.
Okay, I got it.
It's the sales tactic.
It clicked.
Right?
That made sense, yeah.
Everything is in the delivery.
I need to eat.
Yeah, I know. I ate a bag of muffins while you were on the phone.
Oh my god.
We're almost done with
my
this.
My brain power is
We'll wrap it up as soon as this is done, and we'll order food because
dwindling.
we have to eat before poker anyways.
Oh no, I lollygagged today.
A lot. Yep. It's okay. You were pretty baked earlier.
Well, I got other things done. I did other things, just not the thing that I needed to do.
It's okay. You got shit done. That's all that matters.
I work better under pressure anyway. We're not doing it until like what, 7:00 tomorrow night?
What are we doing tomorrow at 7?
Conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah. Because they get off at 7.
Yeah, I dilly dallied that.
You got a lot of time today.
I fumbled.
It's okay. So back to the email because that's relevant and you want to order food, so we shouldn't be wasting time. But the delivery in your sales matters. If you're trying to sell somebody on something that they don't want, they're not going to buy it.
Right.
You have to make it.
Oh, you tailor it to them.
Right. You know what makes a sale and what makes a really good business model? Providing something that someone needs.
Yes.
Right? I don't need to talk about my feelings. I don't. I've internalized them, shoved them down, processed them when they've come up. That's a me problem. I don't need to talk about that. Mm-hmm. But how can I be a better husband to you? Like, how can I better serve you? How can I improve our sex life? What man doesn't want to talk about your sex life? Oh, you want to try some new stuff? Oh, really? Tell me more. What would you like? I'm all fucking ears.
I mean, you are. Some husbands aren't.
Well, I mean, that's because some husbands don't like their people anymore.
That sucks.
Well, that's trained, learned behavior.
Yeah, it is.
Because they didn't start off that way. They ended up that way. And they've done nothing to change it. They do this. They bicker and argue and badger and poke the bear for each other because that's the only fucking normal conversations they have with each other anymore because the check-ins are obviously a fucking joke. But again, it's in how you sell it. Mm-hmm. If you came to me and was like, I have a list of questions that I want to run by you and I would like to just sit down and have a conversation about these questions. Okay. They're just questions. I want to sit down and talk about my feelings. No, I'm good. I don't want to talk about my feelings. You can talk about yours. I'll listen. I don't want to talk about my feelings. Two very different sales tactics.
Back into the email?
Mm-hmm. No, not back into the email.
Why?
Oh, wait, they're dry. Never mind. I was going to say scenario and then lay out a whole thing where I come home and you've got my favorite bottle with a fucking 2-finger pour. You're going to have a drink and I'm going to sit in your lap and we're going to have a discussion, right? Because now I get to decompress, have a drink, and my woman in my lap. Ha! Fuck. You're going to talk about 90 Day Fiance, bitch? I'm all ears.
Yeah?
I mean, not really, but I would have my drink and have you on my lap and watch your mouth move because I love the way your mouth moves, but I'm not paying attention to 90 Day Fiance. I'll get excited because you're getting excited in my lap.
I've offered this and you have shut me down.
I fucking don't care about those kind of shows.
No, I mean, I've asked you, hey, baby, you want me to have a drink ready for you when you get home? And you're like, no.
That's because I don't want to become an alcoholic.
I get that.
I don't want to drink every night, and I would. If there was a drink every night, I would drink it. And I have a 3-day-a-week limit, so.
I know.
And I never know when we're going to go out and do something, and I'm going to have those drinks.
Right.
And most of the time, I don't even have my 3 drinks.
I love wine.
Yeah, I know you do. You and Lauren with that fucking cemetery episode for Patreon was...
That was like a glass and a quarter of wine on me.
Yeah, but you chugged it. As you were like, if you see me wiping it, it's because I don't sip wine. I chug it. And like you were in a teacup fucking slamming wine. I edited. I saw.
That was not that big of a glass. It was like a normal glass of wine. The teacup was
that fucking big and that big around.
It was about the same size I get when we go to
I have
Prime.
a glass of water a day. Just a glass though, so.
That makes me sound like an alcoholic. Back into the email?
Yep.
I work full-time at a very physically and mentally taxing job. But I still manage to hold fast to all of the traditional pink jobs. I'm just tired and feel like I'm busting my ass for someone who's not meeting my emotional needs, has hairpin triggers, and some very, very deep-seated trauma due to his horrible upbringing by a single mother.
Is it a hairpin trigger when you badger him to get him to the point of an argument?
Right.
It doesn't sound like a hairpin trigger to me. It sounds like you've poked the bear and continue to poke the bear. I'm sure he does have hairpin triggers. A lot of people do. Mm-hmm. But is that every single time? I don't believe that is.
Right.
Sounds to me like you guys just don't like each other anymore. And you are wanting something that he's not able to give you because he's exhausted as well.
Yeah.
And you guys can't have a conversation on how to correct things because he doesn't take the check-in serious, maybe because of your delivery or maybe because he just doesn't give a shit.
This person was right. The honeymoon phase is certainly over.
Oh, yeah.
Some people just aren't compatible.
Yep.
Stop trying to put a square through a circle hole. Counseling is out of the question for him. I've tried. Best I can do is have your guys' pod on the TV while I'm home or in my car when he's around so he can absorb what's on while he's present. I feel as though I have no one to talk to because I refuse to talk about my issues at home outside of the home.
But you're also not having the conversations at home. You
Yeah,
guys are
they're
having
not.
arguments, and that's not the same thing.
On a positive note, your podcast has taught me so much stuff about relationships as a whole that I've put it in place with my staff, my partner, and virtually every relationship I have. I've become more of a caring human who listens to hear, not just to respond, and has pride in how I treat others. Again, I am so sincerely sorry for this word vomit of an email. I hope this is detailed though. And honestly, my goal here isn't to have my email read on the podcast. Of course, if you choose to, by all means, rip me a new one. I just really need some guidance. Thank you so much for everyone for taking the time to read this. Thank you for doing what you're doing and bettering the world one podcast at a time. P.S. I haven't been able to find your guys' P.O. box. If you could send it to me, I would love to send some gifts for my small business.
So she's self-employed. Love that.
P.O. box is
1181 South Sumter Boulevard, Box 361, Northport, Florida 34287.
Yeah,
I didn't even get it up.
I know. So slower version, 1181 South Sumter Boulevard in Northport, Florida 34287.
Box 361. It's actually on our website.
Box 361.
Yeah, if you scroll down to the bottom of our website, there's a white box with all the contact information with the address. Let's go back to the check-in thing.
Okay.
If you were to come to me and you wanted to talk about your feelings and I knew that's what you wanted to talk about and I didn't want to talk about mine, I would still listen to yours, right? But if you came to me and sat in my lap, facing me, kissed me and was like, how am I doing as your wife? Right? I know our relationship's been kind of rocky lately and I want to improve. What can I do to be a better wife to you or a better woman to you, whatever your relationship status is? You are giving me the opportunity to give you that report card without putting a label on it, without making it a weird conversation. You have made the conversation intimate. You're in my fucking lap. Like, you don't have to preface it with, hey, I have this list of 10 questions that I would like to sit down and talk to you about.
Right.
It's like knocking on somebody's door and being like, I'd like to talk to you about your Lord and Savior. Nobody wants to fucking have that conversation with you.
If a goal is intimacy, initiate the intimacy.
Right. If the goal is a conversation, you can use intimacy to initiate the conversation. If he doesn't want you in his lap and tells you to get off of him,
damn,
there's a whole lot of fucking information from just that interaction. How am I doing as your wife? And he laughs at you and you're like, yeah, you're fine.
Wow.
Right. Nonverbal communication is happening and all of that. You guys have to sell the check-ins to men sometimes because we view this as a form of therapy.
Right.
Right? What kind of Dr. Phil shit have you been watching?
Dr. Phil.
Right, but you don't have to. Well, I know you did for seasons. You don't have to sit down and initiate the conversation with, hey, I want to try something. You can literally sit down and just start having the conversation. We are natural reciprocators to questions being asked. How's your day? Oh, it's good. How's yours? Right? That's habitual conversation.
Right.
It happens every fucking day. So if you sit in your husband's lap and you go, how am I doing as your wife? And he answers you, he's probably going to go, well, how am I doing as your husband? Right?
Because now he's curious.
You've started a conversation that is normal back and forth.
Yeah.
You may have to memorize those questions or just start with 3 of them and just start doing it on a regular basis.
Or just start with, I miss you.
Yeah. Once you learn how to talk to people and they learn how to understand, right, the conversation that you're having with them, the check-ins aren't necessary anymore.
Right.
You can have a simple conversation because you've understood the intent behind the conversation is not malice or a reason for you to get defensive. I definitely think there's a trauma bond here. I think that because of the first email where he was super attached to his mom, he doesn't know how to interact with people properly. And there was a whole lot of conflict between her and him about his mom that I think that he views a lot of the conversations that they're having as combative. Fuck, what did I do now? Right? I truly believe that to be the case. So, and I'm not saying that he's right for being tired all the time and like being aggressive with you. I think that that's not okay, but I think that the way that you approach things matter. The how matters just as much as the conversation does. It's not what you say, but how you say it.
Mm-hmm. I want to go meditate after all of that.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to start doing a cleansing after we read emails to not harbor that energy in me. Yeah.
I got to be honest. Some of these emails, like I expect to sit down and have like a really good, like, because I thought this was going to be a monster-in-law situation.
Right, like a back and forth.
Right. And the first half of it was very much that. And like, I do believe there was a whole lot of helpfulness in that. But it's so crazy how that second email changed the entire narrative of the first email because
We're
now,
addicts, like.
yeah, we realize how much was missed in that email.
Yeah.
I really, really want this emailer to have her man write in.
Could you imagine?
If he's listening to these episodes by proxy because you're in the room, have him send us an email. Tell him he's writing into a podcast who is also tattoo artists, right?
Yeah.
Because we can relate to his job. At least we have something in common. We both have traditional gender roles in our marriage. We can relate to him there. Be like, hey, I don't know what to do and I'm trying to relate to you. So I sent an email to a podcast. They help people. I would like you to send one. Tell them what you think are problems in our relationship so that they can try to find the middle ground between the two of us and help us communicate with each other. Right? Better yet, if he's willing to fucking send an email in and you guys want to do a Zoom call, maybe we can even facilitate that in the future. We do them for Patreon. So, shameless Patreon plug. Insert the clip.
Hey guys, if you're seeing this, Chris must have just shouted patron.
Patron!
And patron means that we just got somebody who just subscribed to our Patreon.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what that is, Patreon is a member-based subscription website that allows us to do early release, live streams, exclusive content, vlogs, and we have our own Discord server that is exclusive to our Patreon community.
That Discord is absolutely insane. It is an ever-growing community of like-minded people who you could say practice what we preach, have implemented the things that we have suggested, and it's working.
Would you go as far as to say that they're getting better?
I'd go as far as saying that they're definitely getting better. So if you have questions, you need unbiased opinions, you don't feel safe going to anybody in your present life, I would highly recommend checking out the Discord.
Yep. Also, for those of you who don't want to support us financially, that's totally fine. The best thing that you can do in terms of helping us grow this channel is by sharing our content. The more people that see what we do, the more likely it is to get shared, the more people that are going to support what we are doing, the longer we are going to do this. Back to your regular scheduled program. That's what I got for you guys.
I can't wait to be doing seminars.
Yeah, I really want to get a place set up where we have a couch for guests and we can sit down and interview people in real life and like problem solve. But I still think we need the emails.
I agree.
Because that gives us structure of things to talk about because that's worked really well on our Zoom calls.
It has.
I also had an idea today, and I'm going to just throw this out there to you, and if you want to shut it down, you can.
Okay.
But I would like to do some sort of giveaway on Patreon where we can get a guest to come down, prefacing that, not staying here, but like we can pay for a hotel room in their flight and actually fly them in as like a podcast guest. Or like maybe fly them to Orlando and give them like Universal Studio tickets. Have them rent their own vehicle and then come down for a podcast so like they can have like a little mini vacation based around our podcast as like a giveaway through Patreon. I think that we can make that work somehow. Had the idea this morning.
Okay.
But that would allow people to actually come in studio or even do like a Patreon couple couch session. That sounded kind of weird, but I don't know where I'm going with that. But that would be kind of cool too, to get people to actually sit down and work through their shit, pay for their hotel and their flights down. It would be cheaper to do that than pay for Universal because tickets are expensive as fuck.
Yeah, they are.
But that would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? I mean, I think that would be neat if we could find somebody that, like, we have that, do it with a $20 tier. Because we have a lot of people who have their partners in Discord, which means they're active. Maybe we should look into that.
Okay. I thought of something today too. So with the crocheting, I will be able to make things that I can't make with knitting. And if I really, really get into this, I might start including little crochet things that I've made when we start off our merchandise.
The gifts.
Yeah.
Throw it into that $30 tier.
Just a little free something. Yeah.
That would be cool. I think that handmade gifts are way cooler than bought gifts.
Yeah. Do you want to do Chick-fil-A for food?
I do. I actually am fucking starving now that you said something about eating, so let's wrap this up.
Word.
So remember, guys, you are the author of your own life.
So grab a pen.
And we will see you on the next one.
Bye, bumblebees.